Hello, it's Yvonne from the Fabric Hut. Today we are going to continue our series on different types of binding. The binding we're going to do today is called a facing versus a binding. So when would you use a facing instead of a binding? When you have a quilt like this that you really don't want to add any more color to it. I don't want to have green here on my white. I don't want to have white on my green. I just want this to speak for itself. I'm going to use a facing. Also on a quilt that is more of a modern look. A facing is a very modern twist on binding a quilt. So that's what we're going to do with this one. Also, one of the things you can do with the facing that's really kind of cool is when you're putting the facing on, you can also put on corners that are going to be hanging for a hanging bar. So you can do that all at once with a facing, and it just makes it really lovely. So this is just a small one. So I'm going to just do a quick facing on it and meet you over at my sewing machine. The first thing we're going to do on a facing quilt is prepare our facings. So you need 4 pieces. These are, I think I did 2.5 inches. Yep, 2.5 inches pressed wrong sides together. I have 3 of them that are about 3/4 of an inch shorter than the side of the quilt, and one of them that is the full length of the quilt. Okay. I also have prepared 2 triangles. These are 3.5 inch squares pressed in half. If this were a full-size quilt or a larger wall hanging than this little 12-inch one, I would do these maybe 4.5 inches, even as big as 5 inches. But for this little tiny one, 3.5 is plenty. And this is what is going to hold our bar if we want to use a dowel to hang this quilt. Okay, so I'm going to set the strips aside for the moment, and I am going to put my corner square on the front of the quilt. If it is directional, you want them on the top 2 corners of the quilt, and you're going to just do a real scant 1/4 of an inch seam just to hold that in place. That's not going to be the final seam that we do to that. So it doesn't even have to be all that straight. It just has to be, come on. Okay, now I have a thick corner there and it doesn't want to go through. So I just need to get my little stiletto here and encourage it along. There we go. And there we are. Okay. With the facing, we're going to start on the top here. And we are going to take one of the strips that is shorter, right? And we're going to put it with the raw edges against the top of your quilt. Now, I may, because see, I have a lot of area here on this top one, I'm going to trim off a little bit more, just so I don't get bulk in my corners. Okay, it just has to be within this seam right there. So at least to there, okay? So I'm going to just put it right across the top. You can clip it if you want to hold it in place while you're sewing, or you can just use your hands and hold it in place. And I am going to use my 1/4 of an inch seam, and I'm going to just sew from the corner because I want to now get the permanent seam here. I'm going to sew from the corner 1/4 of an inch all the way down the top of this facing. Just like that. Okay? And all the way off the edge. Now, I'm going to go to the bottom of the quilt, and I'm going to use the one that is the same length as the quilt. and I'm going to do the same thing, 1/4 of an inch all the way around. Now, if you wanted to, you could put the triangle corners on all the way around. It wouldn't matter, but I didn't see a reason for it because I know that I'm only going to be hanging it one direction. So if you had a runner or something that was long and skinny, and sometimes you wanted to hang it horizontal, sometimes you wanted to hang it vertical, you would put them on all 4 corners so you have options. But I don't need options on this one. Okay, so now I have my top with the 2 corners and my bottom. Okay, at this point, we are going to take our side 2 and we are going to make sure that they are within that bounds. I don't want it to be all the way to the corner, just within the bounds and within the boundary of this green. So I'm going to trim off some more here, just like that, and start at the corner and sew that little guy right on all the way down this side. Just like so. And again, go all the way to the edge. Okay, and one more on this side, and we will have got our facings put on. Okay. And I want it up a little bit. There we go. And see, I've got it a little long here again, so I'll come back and just trim some off. So it's within the green corner, or whatever color your corners are, and sew it down. Now, before I go any farther, I'm going to take these and press them out just as well as I can. Just get them all pressed out. This one, you're going to have to manipulate the corner and press this way and get it pressed out just as well as you can. So, just like that. And I want a nice crisp press. I probably should put my wool mat under there, huh? A nice crisp press on them. Get my hand out of your way. All right, now don't be worried that it's not covered here on the corner, because our green is going to do that covering for us. So these 3 sides are easy to get all the way out. The bottom one, a little less easy, but it's going to still work just fine. Okay, we have it pressed. At this point, I am going to come back in right here, and I'm going to sew a scant 1/4 of an inch right along here to hook these 2 together, because that's just going to make it easier for it to fold to the back really lovely. So right here, just give it a little bit of a scant seam right down that line. It just encourages that facing to fold to the back really nicely. Okay, so there's one. And I'm using a white thread. If I were being careful, I would have changed it to a cream so you can't see it, but I wanted you to have a little bit of contrast so you could see what I was doing. Right there. Okay, now this is the one that is already sewn down here. So what you're going to do is you're going to just get in as far as you can. You're not going to be able to get all the way into the corner, but you just back your presser foot in there as far as you can and give it a little sew. It's going to be okay that it's not all the way there. Just fold it out and go as far as you can. Okay, that's far enough. And then the final one is right here. Now, if you notice, they aren't all exactly the same width. This one maybe is a little narrower than this one. Doesn't matter. It doesn't matter a bit. Okay, got them all down. All right, now this is where the magic happens. Here's your corner. You take and you need to trim this corner, being careful not to cut your seam there. Trim those corners off a little bit to reduce the bulk in the corner because there's going to be a lot of bulk here. So we're just going to reduce it down a little bit. Okay, and put your finger on the top and force it out just like that. Thumbnail in, finger on top, and poke it out. Your corner, you're going to do the same thing. Poke it in, just like that. And you get it fairly well. You still need to use a pointer tool. Let me find my pointer tool over here. You don't want to use anything with a sharp point because that is going to poke right through the end here. So you don't want a sharp point, but something with a rounded or a blunt point. A chopstick works really nicely. This is just my purple fang. It works really nicely. By using your fingernail and your thumbnail, you've already accomplished most of the turn. You just want to encourage that last little bit to come out. Okay, there we go. Now, I'm going to turn it back over, and you are going to now press from the back and just give that a nice press down like that. Look how the corner and this long strip on the bottom have covered your ends of the raw ends of the side ones that didn't get covered. And it is now rolled all the way to the back, just like that. And you have a nice clean finish on your quilt. Now, how are you going to finish the back? Well, you're going to do it by hand. This is not a technique that you can come and machine quilt, or you were going to have that row of stitching on the front of your quilt. So you're going to do it by hand. It doesn't take real long. It's just a lovely little time to sit and do some handwork. Get this pressed over. Steam works really well with this. I don't have steam in this iron, but you could give it a good blast of steam. It's going to secure it down really well. And then you're just going to do a quick hand stitch right down this side. You can, when you're doing that hand stitching, if you're having a hard time keeping it rolled and hidden from view on the front, put a couple clips there, secure it out, and just like this, just give it a little clip there to secure it. And there you go. You have now done a facing on your little quilt. This is a great way to do placemats, maybe, that you don't want to take the time to put a binding on. a nice little finish for a placemat. A little tabletop or a wall hanging, any little project that you just don't want that extra feature of the line of color going around, you use a facing. So I hope that's very helpful. If you have any questions, just drop me a line in the comments and I'll get back to you real quickly. And you just have a wonderful quilting day. Thank you for joining me. Bye-bye.